Okay, I can hear myself. Okay, so I have headphones on because in my last stream, the volume got like choppy at the very end. It's weird. It's weird to hear myself, but I guess I could look into that and see if there's any advice on what to do. Okay, so my last stream, so just talking about my presentation in general, my last stream was better. I showed my parents these. They said that I talk too slowly, have too much dead time, basically just accurate stuff. So I want to speak more quickly, finish my sentences, still a goal. And I'm going to write down the point that I'm responding to when I'm responding to it, because if you've watched any of those, then you know that I will forget what point I'm responding to mid-sentence. Also, my cord is kind of short, so I can't lean back in my chair, and I don't like that. But whatever. Enough of this. Okay. So today I wanted to respond to this guy's called Dad Mode and Dark Mode. Yeah, Dad Mode and Dark Mode. I watched one of his videos the other day. It was really good. I wanted to comment on it, but I was like emo or something. I don't know. Not because of this video. It's just emo for some other reason. A lot of reasons to be emo right now. So anyway, this guy, he had this one video that was just really excellent. I think he's very heartfelt and honest and genuine. And I like what I've seen from him so far. I'm just pausing because I'm thinking like that other lady, Sunny. I'm wondering if I'm being more hard on her because I relate to her more or not, but interesting. I try to treat everybody fairly, but I know that, you know, humans don't do that. Okay, so this guy, I haven't listened to this video, so I don't know what he's going to say, but let's hear him.
There's a moment in the Lord of the Rings,
Okay, I don't really know Lord of the Rings.
Towers, that cuts really deep for me. It's when King Theoden is standing inside the fortress at Helm's Deep. He's looking out at the endless swarm of Uruk-hai, and with despair in his voice, asking, "What can men do against such reckless hate?" And, you know, watching that and hearing that, for me, I mean, that line.
Okay, I just want to know a little bit more about context here. I'm sure everybody knows this, I just don't.
Despair in his voice, asking, is standing inside. That cuts really deep for me. It's when King Theoden...
All right. King Theoden. Okay. King Theoden, significant character, known as the King of Rohan, described as a noble leader, valiant warrior, led his people into battle. Okay, so we respect him. After he regained his strength and courage, rallying his people to fight for their freedom, he adopted his orphan niece and nephew after the death of his sister, showcasing his sense of duty and family. Sounds like a great guy. Leadership, bravery, yeah, so I guess that healthy masculine archetype. All right.
Is standing inside the fortress at Helm's Deep.
Okay, fortress at Helm's Lord. Helm's Deep. Gorge narrowed from the north, with the cliffs on each side heightening until its southernmost point. Fortress of the Hornberg, and the source of the Deeping Stream. The Hornberg was built upon a great spur of rock which extended from Gorge's cliff and from the fortress. Helm's Deep was first known to be settled. Men as Gondor. The depiction of Helm's Deep was conceived by Alan Lee. Okay, so it's a place where a war took place.
He's looking out at the endless swarm of Uruk-hai.
Okay, Uruk-hai. Lord of the Rings. No. No. Oh, that's funny. Yuri, some Russian gymnast, he's a Lord of the Rings. Okay.
And with despair in his voice, asking, "What can men do against such reckless hate?"
So it sounds like we have this leader that we look up to and we respect, who feels like he's at a loss against reckless hate. Okay.
And, watching that and hearing that, for me, that line isn't just about it's more than just Middle Earth for me.
I don't even know what Middle Earth is. Middle Earth is a central continent, Lord of the Rings, depicted as a rich and diverse world. Okay, so like the United States. Includes significant locations, each playing a crucial role in the narratives. Middle Earth is often viewed as a reflection of our own world, with its own history and mythology that intertwines with real-world themes. Sure, otherwise it wouldn't be compelling fiction. For a detailed timeline of Middle Earth, you can refer to various... Okay.
For me, it was about us. It's about every man who has ever looked at the destruction of his family and his reputation or his place in the world.
Okay, I think he might be a divorced dad. I'm not sure.
And wondered to himself if anything he does will ever be enough. Because
So feeling futile, yes, I can relate to that.
when hate comes for you, especially from someone who once didn't hate you at all.
Okay, yeah, good. I'm saying good because we're talking about a breakup.
It doesn't fight fair. It's not logical.
I agree. It's not logical to hate someone that you once loved, to turn on somebody who was your best friend. That is illogical.
It's not bound by reason. It's reckless. And it makes you feel powerless.
So I'm trying to think here. So I think he's saying that the hate from your ex, I'm trying to write down the point, your ex defies reason and therefore is reckless? So that's reckless just means not being careful. So the hate from your ex is illogical and not careful. Just trying to understand what he's saying.
The hardest part about hate isn't when it comes from an enemy, because you expect that. You expect hate to come from an enemy. The hardest part about hate is when it comes from someone who once loved you, respected you, or at least didn't hate you.
Okay, so my most recent ex, which is still a really long time ago, he hates all of his exes and he hates me. And I don't actually care about that anymore at all. But it was really hard for a while. Like this person who was my best friend, who I lived with and spoke to every day, all day for 3.5 years, hates me. So, while it is weird, I did do something, like I kicked him out. It wasn't during COVID. We didn't survive COVID. And I kicked him out, and that was a little bit too savage of me. I don't want to go into the details of that. But I mention that because I think that's maybe his justification for hating me, but we didn't break up until I guess I found out he was cheating on me, I think. Anyway, I don't remember the exact sequence of events, but we're trying to think about experiencing hate from somebody that used to be your, ride or die, and how disorienting that is.
When that flips, when it becomes venom, you stand there like Theoden, asking the same question. What can a man do against such reckless hate? For me, it hits at the deepest level. Fatherhood. All a man really wants is respect and consideration, especially from those closest to him.
I think that's all that anyone wants. Respect is interesting. We all deserve respect. We all owe each other respect. I'm just being quiet because I'm thinking there are probably cases, extreme cases of where people have done horrible, violent actions or etc. Maybe they don't deserve respect or minimal respect, but it doesn't sound like any of that happened here. I wouldn't even include, cheating on your partner is terrible, but I wouldn't include that in the type of action that revokes your worthiness of respect.
That is the root of everything. You can strip away from him the money and the possessions and the titles, the status, whatever it is, but if a man's fatherhood is spit on and kicked in the dirt.
I don't really have anything to add here, but I listen to him. I feel bad speeding him up, but I'm going to. Okay.
If his role as a father is completely dismissed or treated like it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I can see somebody doing that out of spite. I can imagine a man doing that just as easily as I can imagine a woman doing that. Hold on, let's hear it again.
Like it doesn't even matter, it ruins him. In the dirt, if his role as a father is completely dismissed or treated like it doesn't even matter, it ruins him.
Yeah, if your role as a parent specifically, I can't relate, but if your role in someone's life is treated like it doesn't matter, that can be ruining. Yeah, absolutely. The one response I would say is something like, well, you got to build yourself up and then you're not vulnerable to that. But I don't know if that extends to your identity in virtue of how you see yourself in virtue of being a parent.
J.R.R. Tolkien knew this truth. He fought in World War I. He saw how systems destroy men, and he wove this reality.
So war and divorce or breakup, custody, they're different harms. So war is harming your safety, so that very bottom row on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This, I'm going to say it's getting in the way of belonging or self-actualization, something higher up on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maybe we should just pull that up. Okay. So at the bottom we have the physiological and safety needs. At the top we have, okay, right. So love, belonging, esteem, respect, recognition. And then the top is self-actualization, which is the desire to achieve personal potential and self-fulfillment. So I guess a reckless hate from your ex would certainly undermine your love and belonging needs and your esteem needs and maybe your self-actualization needs. Undermining somebody as a parent, I think probably is somewhere up here. I'm not sure. But esteem or self-actualization. So you might think that anybody who's complaining about these needs up here is just not thinking about these needs down here. And I think that's important to keep in mind all the time, because there are people out there who don't have this. However, human beings, I buy that they probably need all of these things. So once we have these things, if we don't get these, that does count as a harm, especially if we did have them and then we lost them. That's brutal. That's brutal. I have had things and lost them quite a bit. And if they're honestly the ones that, for me personally, losing things that have taken away my safety and physiological needs, it's not as emotionally painful as losing these things. And emotional pain is like, emotional pain does kind of seem insurmountable sometimes. It's not, but it seems that way.
Into his story. And then another line comes from Aragorn. When Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli are running after the Uruk-hai, who have taken Merry and Pippin.
I don't know.
Aragorn says something to the effect of, their pace is swift. Evil gives speed to these creatures.
All right, I just want to... Aragorn. Okay. Aragon. Okay. Fictional character, Ranger of the North. Hold on, let's find a little bit more. Fictional character, first introduced by the name Strider, a confidant of the wizard Gandalf, plays a part in the Ghost to Destroy One Ring. Aragorn falls in love with the immortal Arwen, forbids him to marry unless Aragorn becomes king of both Armor and Gondor. Alright, so this guy's got a lot of pressure put on him. That's the idea. That's his archetype. Okay.
And sets its will against us. And sets its will against us. To the effect of, their pace is swift. Running after the Uruk-hai, who have taken Merry and Pippin. Aragorn says something to the effect of, their pace is swift. Evil gives speed to these creatures, and sets its will against us. That's what it feels like when you're a man fighting for his family, fighting for his child. It feels like evil itself is lending strength and momentum to those forces that oppose you. You're running after them, exhausted.
So there's quite a bit in the discourse about courts favoring women in custody battles. I'm trying to think if there's anything general I can say about that other than just listening to this guy about his specific feelings.
Lungs burning. But no matter what, they always seem to stay one step ahead. And because of that, you start to wonder, am I chasing something I can never catch?
Relatable.
Respect isn't about ego. It's about order. It's about recognition that a father's presence is not optional. When the world spits on that...
Yeah, so I think there is... Okay, now I can say something general. So, for a long time, I guess one of the miscalculations that I made... Oh, is there somebody here? Hi. One of the miscalculations... Let me start over. I distracted myself.
Optional. When the world spits on that...
All right. So one of the miscalculations that I made was that I wouldn't need to fall in love and have a successful relationship to have a family. And I made this calculation before my 2 long-term relationships in my 30s. So I made this calculation like before I realized that those were really awesome. And I did think, okay, well, if I don't meet anybody, I'll be rich, I can adopt. And if I'm not rich, I can foster. And I can tell you that doing things alone is just hard. It's just hard. Not even because the actual tasks are difficult. It's just when you feel unsupported, it's hard to find the motivation. So I'm saying that because I'm saying I don't think at least I'm not going to do it alone intentionally. So that's a reason to say, fathers or a partner, are valuable.
When a man's fatherhood is treated as expendable, it breaks him in a way no one else sees and fathoms or understands. This isn't about ego or pride. It's about survival. Men don't live well when their fatherhood is despised.
I'm trying to think. I don't want to talk about my parents too much, but I don't think my dad would ever feel that way. I don't think he would ever feel... And I fought with him. I don't think he'd ever feel like his fatherhood is despised. Probably because my mom just never made him feel that way.
Helm's Deep wasn't just a wall. It was the last line of defense. For fathers, that fortress is the relationship with their children. When you're under siege by accusations, by systems, by lies, by hatred, it feels like being surrounded by Uruk-hai. Wave after wave coming at you.
Yeah, so I can relate to this when I was one of 3 or 4 women in a department of, over 60 people, you do sort of feel like anything you do doesn't matter. That might just be the human condition. I can see it hurting more in this context, though, with your children.
And in the midst of that, the thought creeps in, what can I even do? Many men have been there. What can I even do? In this modern world, what can I even do? But Tolkien didn't leave Theoden's word unanswered. He didn't leave his words unanswered. At Helm's Deep, when everything looked lost, they looked to the east. Gandalf appeared on the ridge with reinforcements. Light broke through the darkness. That's the truth hidden in the story. Evil has speed, hatred has fury, but it doesn't have endurance.
Evil has speed, hatred has fury, but it doesn't have endurance. That's kind of like, what is that? The arc of history bends towards justice. What's that quote? Interesting topic, studying for something or just digging into the topic. I'm just trying to understand why men and women hate each other. Because I would like that to stop, personally, and for you guys. Kind of seems like it. I mean, good question.
Hatred burns itself out. Evil eventually collapses under its own weight. A father who stands firm, who refuses to abandon his post, who keeps showing up for his son, he outlasts the hate.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good point of view to take. You can endure your hardships. It can be very hard and lonely.
Make no mistake, this battle cost you. It cost you, just like the riders of Rohan bled to hold that wall. Men bleed to hold their place as fathers. Quietly, they bleed.
I just don't think my dad relates to that. I mean, I don't know.
It will break.
And I fought with him all the time. It's probably because my mom just didn't.
Break your sleep. It will break your body. It will test your spirit. But here's the call. You stand. You don't surrender your fortress, because one day when the dawn comes, your son will know who fought for him. One day. So what can men do against such reckless hate? They can endure. They can outlast. They can refuse to give in. Because...
So I think that's a pretty okay strategy. I guess I worry about if your plan is to be rigid, unwavering, unmoving, you might be resistant to new information that could help you come to a solution that you haven't been able to come to before.
Hatred can never create.
I think it creates quite a bit. I think it creates nation borders. It creates weapons. It creates success. Some people are motivated out of spite.
Can only destroy.
But it is quite destructive as well. And arguably, any of those things that were created were only created to destroy, and that destruction may have outweighed whatever the creation was.
Fatherhood, on the other hand, creates life, creates stability, creates identity. And in the end, the creators outlast the destroyers.
Yeah, so that kind of the creators outlast the destroyers.
There's a moment in the Lord of the Rings.
Kind of reminds me of something I think about when I think about debate. So I mentioned this when I commented on the Andrew Wilson debate. I may have mentioned it other times, but there are sort of two approaches you can take to debate. One can be sort of the winning approach, and then the other one is the more cooperative and collaborative approach. So I think, so the winning approach, that is good for testing the strength of your argument. So when you take an argument and you try to poke holes in it, you will reveal its weaknesses. So that's the benefit of sort of the winning approach. We can test the strength of our reasoning. The collaborative approach is also important. We're not necessarily testing the strength of our arguments, but we are finding common ground, and common ground might be, well, it's probably at least as important, or up there. Common ground is probably just as important as strength of argument when it comes to making decisions and working together in a way that, benefits the most people, that creates the most good. I guess that's it. I guess I'm done. This video was okay. It was, the other one I saw of him I liked more. It's funny. It's easier for me to be hard on women here, and I need to be very careful with that it's just coming from a place of, me trying to sort of take accountability for things that I can control rather than blaming people for things that I can't control. But I also have to be careful that I'm not overcorrecting for that. So I can see how people might respond poorly to this. But I think it's a healthy outlet for emotion. I don't think it's seeing yourself as the one who's going to win and outlast the other person because they're evil. I don't know what happened with him, but that's not the best premise for collaboration, and collaboration is going to get us the optimal result. It's just a general fact about, two-player zero-sum games. I should probably talk about that specifically. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll have that pulled up. Okay, I'll watch this back. I'll come up with some more goals for how I can improve. And thank you, King Mold 12. I hope they don't. I don't know how old you are. I don't know what your life experience is, but it kind of seems that way to me. Certainly when you look at, the political divide, women seem to be going more left and men seem to be going more right, among other